Hey everyone, it's Allie, and DD have finally given us a response on what is going to be happening in the next patch of Path of Exile. Now, I want to put this right at the beginning of the video so everyone is aware of it, but they are not going to be nerfing any builds until the next season of Path of Exile 2. What DD are planning to do is they're going to be having big content patches, and they do not want to touch the current meta until then, meaning you have about, I would say, a month to 2 months or so to enjoy this before the next season / economy reset / whatever you want to call it happens, where we get another large content patch. With that said, feel free to play whatever build you're currently playing, and they might potentially be nerfing some builds that abuse bugs or are going to be fixing bugs, which, might unintentionally nerf some builds. So things such as lightning rods or lightning conduit are still up in flux, but Archmage, PoE, and whatever other broken builds you're playing are completely fine and completely safe for quite a while. With that said, there are some major changes coming in the next patch. This is going to either drop sometime this week or next week, and we don't have patch notes currently, but they did say they'll come in a few days. They'll be linked in the description below, and there'll be a pinned comment when they do actually drop. With this said, we have some pretty big changes coming. To give you a quick taste of it, Citadels are now going to show up through the fog. You're going to be able to change your runes. On death effects have been nerfed. Rare modifiers have been nerfed on enemies. Enemies in general have been nerfed, and there's quite a lot of other good changes. We are living the golden age of Path of Exile 2, where come this patch, you are just going to feel tankier. The game's going to be more fun to play, and it's just going to be a great time. So with that said, let's go through some of the highlights and get you on your way to being excited about not only playing the build that you're currently playing, but to be excited about how the patch is going to feel. So to start with mapping, there's quite a lot of really major mapping changes coming. First off, you're now just going to get 30% more loot from all enemies, and all maps now just have 30% more monsters than before. Cool, great. More loots, more monsters, always fun. Tower maps are being changed to where there's now going to be 4 new layouts of it, so you don't do the same boring layout every time. And even the current boring layout is being redesigned so you don't have to walk through a tight hallway into a room you can't see and for you just randomly get shotgunned. Map bosses were also not spawning at the correct rates, and now they're going to be spawning substantially more often than before, as it was not a 1 in 4. And we're now going to get tablets for them, meaning if you want to do map bosses, you can now do a lot more. If you have a strategy based around them, well, there you go. You now get probably 2, if not 3 times more map bosses than you were doing before. This is also going to help you with waystone sustain as well. Map bosses drop a lot of waystones, and well, this is going to be kind of nice. They're also going to be buffing both Strongbox and Essences. Now, they didn't really talk about how, but there are going to be buffs for them. And Strongboxes are not going to take 8,000 years for them to spawn all the enemies anymore. Pretty good to me. In terms of the enemies, there are some pretty massive changes coming to them. Not only is there going to be less clutter in maps, but all effects are now going to be easier to see, and they're now going to pop more against other things in the background. As you can see from this B-roll, this is directly from the video, and well, all these explosions are substantially easier to see than before, especially through the delirium fog. Not only that, but any sort of explosions that enemies are doing are going to immediately go away when you kill the enemy. So the rare modifier that makes all those ice novas or fire novas or lightning novas constantly spawn around the rare, all of them immediately get wiped away and they stop doing damage. So you don't have to worry about dodging everything once a rare is dead, and it's not deadlier dead than it is alive. They also said they're going to be doing quite a lot of tuning changes to both monster abilities, meaning overall monsters should do a lot less damage, and they're going to be doing tuning to rare affixes, meaning that not only are some affixes going to be probably a hell of a lot easier to deal with, but that most likely means they're also going to most likely nerf on death effects. They didn't mention on death effects by name, but if they don't, that's going to be very weird, and I really do expect them to change those, as everyone is complaining about them. When you add on to that, there are going to be some terrain collision fixes that they're going to hopefully do, meaning maps should be a little bit less clunkier to go through. I think we're going to have a substantially better time mapping. In terms of other endgame content for you to do, as I mentioned at the beginning of the videos, Citadels now show through the fog. So you get to see exactly where Citadels are, and they have nerfed the Act 2 Citadel boss a little bit, making it substantially easier to do than before. I really like this change, and this should hopefully reduce the price of fragments to fight the Arbiter. And speaking of the Arbiter, they are finally doing what everyone has been requested, and you're now going to have 6 portals when fighting the Arbiter on the baseline difficulty. As you move up in difficulty, you're going to lose some of those portals, and by difficulty 4, presumably you only have 1 portal. But hey, this allows you to learn the boss on the easier difficulties, and given Citadels are going to be even easier for people to find, it should be cheaper than ever to learn the fight, and then it makes sense that the boss is going to get harder by not allowing you to die as much as you push into the proper difficulty levels of the fight. This is going to also apply to other Pinnacle bosses in the future. They just need to work out the logistics of how to exactly set this up. As for League content itself, they are going to be buffing Delirium by increasing the drop rate of Deadly Splinters. In a Ritual, we are going to get 60% more omens than before, so you might actually be able to potentially use an omen for a reasonable price in the future. Expedition is going to get some buffs to the crafting with it, and they said there's going to be more to come here as they want to add a unique crafting currency to Expedition. And overall, these changes should honestly be really nice. They kind of discussed in the interview a little bit how they feel like Breach is pretty well tuned and they want to get the other mechanics tuned to about how well Breach is, meaning we're most likely not going to see any Breach nerfs, which is honestly really good, as a lot of people are pretty happy with how Breach currently is. Finally, for some quick item changes, you can now socket runes over old runes and soul cores on your gear. I knew this was going to come, as so many people were complaining about this, and there was no way they were going to die on this hill. And well, have fun. You no longer have to be anxious or worry about potentially putting the wrong runes or soul cores inside of your gear. And all the quote unquote bricked gear that people put other random runes into is now viable for you to purchase as upgrades because, well, you can change the runes out. They're also going to be buffing a few unique items that are for leveling, which is kind of cute. Maybe this makes leveling a little bit easier, but nothing here was really too interesting. And they're going to be fixing a few bugs when it came to identifying items that dropped with tier, as some modifiers weren't properly rolling on that gear on high tier items, which shouldn't realistically make too much of a difference for the average player, but hey, you'll now on average get a little bit better loot when IDing rare gear. To finally finish this off with a few miscellaneous changes, filters are coming for consoles. They were just a little bit delayed, but they should be out with this patch, meaning that everyone can now use Filter Blade, which is going to be great. Armour is getting a tiny little buff, although it's not going to be relevant enough, and they did say they want to cook on Armour a little bit more as it needs more help than just this, but Armour shall be 15% stronger with the upcoming patch than it currently is, and you'll now be able to zoom out the Atlas map a little bit further than before. I am so happy with all these changes, especially knowing that they have given us a deadline on when the nerfs are going to happen, meaning we still have another month to 2 months to enjoy our current builds and to have fun. And then the potential massive nerfs to enemies and maps, along with all the other small changes that they made, is going to make this game feel so much better to play. I am really excited for this, and I feel like we're just going to have a really good time with the game. Obviously, the nerfs are going to happen, but it is what it is. At least it's going to happen with a big content patch, meaning, sure, the builds you're currently playing are going to get nerfed, but there's going to be so much new content that you're honestly probably not going to keep playing those builds anyways, and you're most likely not going to be in a month to 2 months from now as it is. So it is what it is, but so it kind of has to happen. In the interview that happened after the video, they did specifically talk about how they want to raise the floor on a lot of skills while knocking down the ceiling a little bit, meaning they understand what the core issue of the game is right now, to where a lot of skills are super undertuned. So, well, while your current favorite builds might get nerfed in a month to 2 months, there's going to be a hell of a lot more builds that are going to finally become viable. So it should be really fun, and I'm really looking forward to that myself. If you have any questions on any of this, feel free to leave a comment in the comments below, and I'd be more than happy to help you as soon as I can. I also stream on Twitch every single day, so feel free to come by Twitch and ask me any of your questions there. If you simply just want to come by and hang out with all the other cuties and be a part of our community, I'd be more than happy to see you there as well. With that said, cuties, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you're looking forward to this patch as much as I am, and I'll see you all in the next video.